Hello and welcome to Business 360. I am Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Positive end to a range-bound session on Dalal Street. Nifty posts record close and mid-cap index recovers yesterday's losses to end near record highs. Buying momentum in the banking sector continues.
Pursuit of business growth is important, but it should never come at the expense of taking on unacceptable risks.
Do not pursue growth at the expense of unacceptable risks, says the RBI Governor to India Inc. Also calls for stronger compliance culture within the banking industry, saying that perfunctory compliance with regulations will be self-defeating. Top capital market executives meet Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ahead of the union budget, call for fiscal discipline, consistent tax policy and removal of tax arbitrage. SEBI clears OLAElectric's proposed 5,500 crore rupee IPO. The IPO, a mix of fresh issue and an offer for sale, would be the first by an Indian EV startup. Government cancels the University Grants Commission's national eligibility test just a day after 9 lakh candidates appeared for it across 300 cities. As the student protests intensify, government claims the integrity of the examination may have been compromised. The union government announces minimum support price for 14 Kharif crops. The MSP for paddy is fixed at 117 rupees higher per quintal. However, the percentage hike of 5.36% is lower than the 7% hike last year. Pulses and oilseeds see a sharper MSP hike. Anil Agarwal has no plans to dilute his stake in Vedanta, says the company is aiming to clock $10 billion in EBITDA, hopeful of the demerger being completed this fiscal. That's an exclusive.
The valuation is just the score, is the way we call it. So we are all about playing the game. And our game is accelerated computing and building a platform.
Valuation is just a score, says Shanker Trivedi, a senior executive at NVIDIA, days after it became the most valuable public company in the world. Umesh Sachdev of Uni4 says AI is now a boardroom topic across all companies. That's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. At least 38 people are dead and 100 others hospitalized after drinking spurious liquor in Tamil Nadu's Kalakuruchi. 4 people have been arrested so far, facing severe criticism. Chief Minister Stalin promises to hold officials accountable for this tragedy. At least 9 people waiting for food assistance allegedly killed by Israeli forces in Rafah. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu rebukes the army spokesperson for saying that Hamas cannot be eliminated. Well, let's begin with a quick look at the day's market action. Now, the market posted a record close after a range-bound session. Sensex gained over 140 points and the Nifty gained about 50 points. The mid-cap index recovered yesterday's losses and ended the day at near record highs. Well, from Dalal Street to Mint Street, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das has called for stronger compliance culture within the banking industry. Speaking at an event in Mumbai, Das said that perfunctory compliance with regulations will turn out to be self-defeating. He also had a word of caution for India Inc. Das said that growth should not be pursued at the expense of unacceptable risks.
Both regulated entities and supervisors need to be vigilant to risks, if any, in the business models of organizations. While business models may be designed to drive profitability and growth, they sometimes contain vulnerabilities that may not be apparent. Pursuit of business growth is important, but it should never come at the expense of taking on unacceptable risks. Robust risk mitigants are essential for ensuring long-term success and resilience of a regulated entity as well as the overall financial system. Perfunctory compliance with regulations would actually be self-defeating. I am happy to note that at the systemic level, there has been significant progress and improvement in compliance culture in our financial system. The heads of risk management, internal audit, and compliance functions are the conscience keepers of a financial institution.
Well, news now from the national capital. Representatives from banks, NBFCs and asset management companies met Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today to express their wish list weeks ahead of the union budget. The requests include a consistent tax policy and the removal of tax arbitrage. This meeting follows a day after Sitharaman met top economists to decide on the budget agenda.
There were some suggestions which many of us gave. Mutual fund, maybe I was president of the Association of Gold Loan Companies. We also gave good suggestions. I'm sure they said we'll definitely look at it.
Ask.
No, there is nothing that top asked. We have given it to them.
What are the broad suggestions?
Yeah, broad suggestions for improving the capital market, improving the funding to the retail sector. We do the last mile funding. Association of Gold Loan Companies, we do the last mile funding. They are very happy with that. So I'm sure they will support us in that.
I think our main request is to keep on that path. Fiscal discipline is absolutely critical, and so is the effective inflation targeting. I think the main thing is these policies need to be stable and they need to be long-term oriented. What you cannot have is too many changes happening every year, every second year. So the suggestion from the industry was try to keep consistency in the tax policy. And yes, there might be some areas where there is some arbitrage and which the ministry should take into account as they think about the long-term policy.
And OLAElectric has received SEBI's approval for its initial public offering. The electric two-wheeler maker is proposing to raise up to 5,500 crore rupees through a fresh issue. The IPO includes an offer for sale component of 95.2 million shares. The company had filed its draft red herring prospectus with SEBI on December 22nd. The Union Cabinet has hiked a minimum support price for 14 Kharif crops for the year 2024-25 crop season that runs from July to June. The government said that farmers will now get 2 lakh crore rupees as MSP, which is 35,000 crore rupees rise from what they received in the previous season. Lata Venkatesh joining us now with more details. Lata, give us a sense of the impact that this will have on inflationary tendencies.
Well, the MSP is always analysed, the minimum support price is always analysed to see its impact on CPI. This time, of course, more closely because there was this expectation that maybe there was farmer disapproval of the BJP's policies and therefore whether there would be higher increases. But actually the biggest weightage, cereals, and therefore in this case paddy, since wheat is a rabi crop, the MSP, the increase for paddy is 5.36. Last year it was 7%. So clearly that is not showing any indication of populism. Likewise, dal, arhar, which is what, tur dal. Tur dal is up 7.86% versus 6% last year, but that's also because there has been some double-digit pulses inflation, and therefore this is an incentive for people to grow more of pulses, and therefore that is a little higher. But the point is, the MSP itself doesn't enter the CPI. If the minimum support price is high, then market prices rise because traders have to pay even higher to get it from farmers, and therefore the expected price increase of the market rates is higher. However, at the moment when the MSP was being announced, already the paddy and tur dal prices are higher than the MSP price. So this is not going to have any impact on the CPI. The net impact, according to economists, is about 40 to 45 basis points. Actually, 40 basis points on the CPI. And last year it was over 60 basis points. So clearly, when economists are calculating the CPI forecasts, they factor in some MSP impact. This time it is not more than what they had anticipated. There is a slight higher increase in oil seeds, but that's more to spur production, and not much crop is procured, oilseed crop. So it won't have too much of an impact on the CPI. The short point, no economist has raised their CPI forecast after looking at the minimum support price. The other question people were asking is, will the higher MSP indicate more populist budget? Now people are not making that connect anymore because you may not want to give a higher MSP because you don't want inflation to rise. After all, food inflation is pretty high. You could still have a controlled inflation MSP policy and still have a populist budget. So people are not making that connect just yet.
Right, Lata, thanks a lot for that. Valuation is just the score. We are all about playing the game of accelerated computing. That's the word coming in from NVIDIA's Senior Vice President of Enterprise Business. In an exclusive conversation with VP Shanker Trivedi said that generative AI is the killer app among many others in computing, and NVIDIA has been working on it for many years now. Another AI player, Unifor, believes that no company can ignore not having AI.
The valuation is just the score, is the way we call it. So we are all about playing the game. And our game is accelerated computing and building a platform. So for us, generative AI is the killer application among other applications for accelerated computing. And so, you know, we've been doing deep learning since 2012. Jensen, presented to OpenAI the first DGX in 2016. So that's a very, very long and deep involvement with all of the ecosystem associated with generative AI.
So in no overnight success, which is what people sort of suddenly, like where did NVIDIA come from? To the layperson, I mean, it's just a phenomenal story that's taken shape in the public perception over the last few years. But there's a lot of work that's gone in over the past 2 decades in building it out to be what it is today.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on this for many years. We always work with all of the developers and all the research laboratories and universities, all of the startups, small startups as well as mid-size and large startups, and all of the, global research centers, global capability centers, and major ISVs. It takes a long time to build a market.
It does take a long time to build a market. Umesh, let's talk about what is faster, leaner, better now at Unifor, since we're talking about what generative AI can potentially do. I mean, how has life changed for you at Unifor?
Well, first of all, great to have you back in Silicon Valley, Shireen. Much like you were talking to Shankar about these things are not overnight success. I founded the company, hard to believe, 16 years ago. We've been at this for 16 years, and sometimes I meet customers who think AI was born after the GPT moment.
Right.
But some of us have been at this for a decade and a half and more. But what's truly shifted in the last couple of years, which has been truly profound, we today serve some of the biggest companies, not just in North America, but around the world. These are large banks, large telecom companies, large retail companies who've been using AI, but now with Gen AI, what's profound is AI is now a boardroom topic. It's being discussed in every board meeting in a publicly traded company. Wall Street is measuring companies on their AI strategy, and the stock prices are being shifted up or down, depending on what companies announce. And for that reason, CEOs and CIOs are now singularly responsible. A lot of the customers that we've been dealing with, prior to GPT, AI was being bought as part of a software as a service application. Something in marketing, something in contact center, something for sales. Now AI is an infrastructure that no company can ignore not having within itself. And for the last couple of years, we've seen tremendous traction. Matter of fact, we grew our top line a little over 60% last year, which was an acceleration from the previous year, and we're seeing the same trend continue now. So I'm seeing an insatiable desire at the C-suite around the world about how do we become AI natives? How do we keep our sovereignty when it comes to AI? How do we not share our data with somebody else? And what kind of internal tools and technologies do we need to make this all happen?
Well, you can catch that entire conversation, exclusive conversation, at 7:30 and 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. And speaking of exclusives, Vedanta chairman Anil Agarwal has no plans to dilute his stake in the company. In an exclusive conversation with Nigel D'Souza, Agarwal said that the company is aiming to clock $10 billion in EBITDA. Speaking about the demerger of its business, Agarwal said he's hopeful of completing it in this financial year.
We have got majority of lender approval. We are in the process. NCLT take time and go through a whole process, which process will take place. and then it will be merged.
Okay.
Merged.
So by the end of this fiscal year, we could have the units separated, 6 listed entities of the Vedanta group?
I think so, because certain things are in my hand, certain things are not in my hand.
Okay.
It is in the hand of NCLT. NCLT normally takes 3-4 months time, but sometimes they can take 1 or 2 months more also. Total debt on the Vedanta Resources. Vedanta Limited is the subsidiary of Vedanta Resources. All put it together, the total debt in the company is $12.5 billion, which is not even 1.5 time or 1.2 time of the profit what we make. As far as the total debt on the top is concerned, we have the trophy asset on the top, which is we own the largest copper deposit of the world called Kankula Copper Mine, which is on the top, and we are looking, people are looking forward from us. Would you like to dilute some equity into the KCM? We haven't thought anything so far.
With that, it's time now for slipping into a very short break. But coming up, the government cancels the University Grants Commission's national eligibility test just a day after 9 lakh candidates appeared for it across 300 cities. More details when we come back. Welcome back. Now, here's the big national story. 9 lakh candidates across 317 Indian cities will now have to retake the University Grants Commission National Eligibility Test, or the NET test as it's commonly known. Now, this after the Education Ministry decided to cancel this examination that was held on June 18th following inputs that its integrity may have been compromised. The matter now has been handed over to the CBI for an investigation. This is the first centrally conducted public examination to be scrapped after the centre introduced a new anti-paper leak law. The National Test Agency, or the NTA, which is in charge of conducting the examination, is already facing heat for alleged irregularities with relation to the NEET undergraduate program, which is a single window entrance test to all MBBS programs in India. Now remember, the UGC NET determines the eligibility for junior research fellowship for the post of assistant professors and PhD admission in universities, and comprises of 2 papers. However, the issue has already transformed into a major political slugfest. Several student unions, including Congress's student wing, that's NSUI, held protests outside the Education Ministry in Delhi over the cancellation of NET exams. Shivani Bazaz is getting us more from the protest site.
Well, the alleged paper leak issue that started with the NEET medical entrance exam has now reached the UGC NET exam and has led to full-blown political protests across the country. Students are protesting outside the Ministry of Education here in Shastri Bhavan in New Delhi. As you can see behind me, a lot of students are sitting on protesting against the cancellation of exams and the alleged paper leaks. They're also demanding the resignation of the Minister for Education, Dharmendra Pradhan, and also attacking the NTA, the body responsible for conducting exams. We have some protesting students over here with me. Ma'am, what is your name?
My name is Bushra.
Bushra, did you take the UGC or NEET exam?
No, I teach for UGC NET Commerce and Management examination. We are over here representing the students, demanding the resignation of NTA chairman, and we want a few answers from the NTA officials. कैसे कल शाम में 7 बजे अराउंड NTA ने एक नोटिफिकेशन दिया जहां पे उसने बोला कि सक्सेसफुली कंडक्टिंग दी UGC NET एग्जामिनेशन. उसके अराउंड 4 आवर्स के बाद में मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एजुकेशन के द्वारा एक नोटिस रिलीज होता है कि एग्जामिनेशन को उसने कैंसिल कर दिया. तो ऑल ऑफ अ सडन 4 आवर्स में ऐसा क्या हुआ? और जब हमने नीट के इश्यूज इतने टाइम से आ रहे थे, तो व्हाई wasn't the examination postponed? So I believe that many of the students, they were saying कि भाई उनको जो OMR थी उसको fill करने के बाद they have not received a copy of the OMR as well. उसके अलावा whatever scams have been happening, as ma'am mentioned as well, that they have not, the seal was open, there were no facilities as such in the examination hall as well. If they are delaying for 4 minutes, the students were not even given entry into the examination hall. And such big scam, you are not taking any responsibility.
Well, as you can see, a lot of anger amid students, especially after what happened with the NEET examinations. 1,500 students with grace marks. The grace marks were cancelled and they were asked to take their examination again. So clearly, full-blown protests on. Congress has also announced that there will be a nationwide protest on Friday. At the moment, the matter is being handled by the CBI now. That's what the Ministry of Education is saying. We'll have to wait and watch for what happens in this matter. Back to you.
Well, amidst these allegations of a paper leak in NEET, UG, an aspirant from Bihar, has admitted to acquiring the question paper a night before the examination and memorizing the answers. In a confession letter, Anurag Yadav said that the same questions were asked in the examination the very next day. Bihar police, meanwhile, has arrested Yadav, his uncle, and 2 others who reportedly sold the leaked paper for over 30 lakh rupees. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has paused all cases on the alleged leaks and malpractices pertaining to the NEET UG in high courts. The top court has issued a notice to the centre and the NTA on petitions seeking cancellation of NEET and a court-monitored probe. It has sought a response from them by July 8th. Well, to Delhi now, water shortage in the national capital continues to worsen. Residents are seen queuing up near water tankers. A report by Central Groundwater Board has highlighted that Delhi has already extracted 99% of groundwater. This comes a day after the Delhi Minister Atashi said that she will go on a hunger strike if the central government does not provide water as soon as possible. Danish Anand is bringing us this ground report from Delhi's Sangam Vihar.
Delhi has a water demand of over 1,000 mgd, that is over 1,300 million gallons per day. But the Delhi government has accused that Haryana government is not releasing Delhi's fair share of water, while Haryana government is supposed to release almost 630 mgds of water.
अब क्या करें, हम यहाँ की पब्लिक है बहुत परेशान है भाई साहब. 15-15 दिन से हम लोग नहाए नहीं हैं. मुँह धो लेते हैं, खाली 20 रुपए की बोतल लेके आते हैं, तब अपना घर का गुजारा कर रहे हैं. और हम प्रसाद बांट रहे हैं, पानी नहीं मिल रहा. 30 रुपए बोतल तक पानी नहीं मिल रहा. टेंट लगा हुआ है सामने.
बूढ़े पुराने आदमी कहाँ जाए? जिसका बच्चा 10,000 कमा रहा है वो 1,500 का टैंक लेगा, बच्चन को कहाँ भेज देगा?
After the orders of the Supreme Court, the upper Yamuna body meeting took place in which the Delhi government and Haryana government sat together, and the Delhi government requested Haryana government to release extra water on humanitarian grounds. But Haryana government said that they will be unable to do so. Considering this this issue, we saw that Delhi's water minister Atashi, she wrote to PM Narendra Modi yesterday and she requested PM Modi to intervene in this situation. She said that Haryana government is releasing 100 mgds less water, and she said that 100 mgds less water will affect at least 28 lakh people in the national capital. And she has said to PM Modi that if PM Modi doesn't intervene and by 21st June, if the water crisis situation in the national capital is not solved, then she will be sitting on an indefinite hunger strike.
Well, the cabinet has approved the development of an all-weather deep-water port at Vadhvan near Dalal in Maharashtra. The port will cater to large container vessels and will be jointly constructed by the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Authority and the Maharashtra Maritime Board. The JNPA chairman has said that construction of this port is critical as the JNPA and Mundra port will be reaching maximum capacity soon. Rachna Dhanrajani is here with us on the specifics of the Vadhvan port. Rachna, tell us about this project. When is it likely to be completed?
Well, it is the Vadhvan port that will be constructed in Dahanu near Palghar. It will be a joint venture, like you said, between JNPA with a 74% stake and the Maharashtra Maritime Board with 26% equity. The total project cost is set at about 76,220 crore rupees. The project will be developed in 2 phases. First will be ready by 2029 and second by 2037. It will be designed to hold 23 million 20-foot equivalent TEUs, which no other port in India can due to natural limitations. With 9 container terminals, each about 1,000 meters in length, the port will be equipped to harbour the largest vessel in the world that carries about 24,000 TEUs, which up until now, no other port in India has the capacity to. And so if the containers on the vessel now have to come to India, they now have to first go to either UAE, Colombo or Singapore, shift to a smaller vessel and then make their way to India again. But with Vadhvan, that won't be the case anymore. In fact, because Vadhvan will be able to accommodate large vessels like Singapore and Colombo, for other smaller ports, this would open up an additional revenue stream. This is also a mega green port. Mega because of its size and green because it's going to be carbon neutral. The port is also expected to aid trade flow through India, Middle East, Europe corridor, the IMEC, and International North-South Transportation Corridor, the INSTC. It will also be the first state-owned port to be developed in 2 decades after Kamarajar Port was built in 2001. Although the proposition for Vadhvan started in 1991, the project was always engulfed with challenges that came in form of approvals, protests from local fishermen, the village community. So now the promises made by JNPA are that not a single tree would be chopped down and 90% of the 12 lakh jobs that the port will create will be reserved for the localites. I spoke to the chairman of JNPA, Unmesh Wagh, asking him about the challenges faced and how they overcame those. Here's what he said.
We will have that environmental impact assessment, and accordingly a plan will be put up so that it will be a minimum. And we did that. That's why we got all the clearances. We did more than 30 studies with various agencies. So that is a full fruit case. Then another aspect of the social aspect, most of the aspect, because initial plans were having some flooding or some rehabilitation issues, we just changed the plan, took it inside sea. Do you believe that this size of project is coming and we are not touching one mangrove tree?
Well, with that, it's a wrap on Business 360. But as we go, here's a quick note. A daily wrap of the top headlines will hit your inbox every day before you call it a night. CNBC-TV18's daily newsletter on LinkedIn featuring the top 10 stories on markets, corporate updates, economic insights, and financial highlights. So subscribe now and get the CNBC-TV18 edge. The news and updates will continue right here